All right, now, Tom, you've got 8 targets that the Cowboys could trade for this offseason. We're not just talking about free agency or draft. Let's look at some trade targets, and let's start with a wide receiver from Denver, Emmanuel Sanders.
I will preface this by saying this is a lot of the names that everyone in the comment section on Twitter and YouTube and Facebook have all been wanting.
Sure.
Don't
give the people what they want.
Yeah, but I'm also playing bad news because don't get your hopes up here. Emmanuel Sanders would be great. I don't see how Dallas wants to take on $8.25 million for a number 2 wide receiver when you almost don't want to pay Dez that amount of money. Denver's shopping him for a mid-round pick. They're not going to find a taker. And we will know what happens with Sanders when we get to later in March 18th. $6.9 million of his salary becomes fully guaranteed. So if he's not cut by then, he's not going anywhere, and he's going to stick in Denver.
Denver's got to make a pretty quick decision on Emmanuel Sanders. Let's go on to another wide receiver, Martavis Bryant.
This one makes more sense from a money perspective because it's less than $1 million, which does drive up his price tag. And he did request a trade during the season. But the Steelers seem more inclined to keep Marty B. I don't think that they're ready to give up on him. I think they want
a nickname for him?
Yeah, Marty B.
Okay.
Yeah. So I do think in the end you'll see him stick in Pittsburgh, but there will be interest in him. Whether or not Pittsburgh says, yeah, we're going to deal him, I don't think we'll see happen.
All right, how about another wide receiver, Josh Gordon?
Yeah, I haven't checked the comments yet, but I wouldn't be surprised if this is one of the first names mentioned in there, along with the guy we'll get to later on here, Earl Thomas. With Josh Gordon, exclusive rights free agent. Yeah. This is what David Irving was last year for the Cowboys. It ends up being, all right, Josh Gordon, as a Browns owner sits down with him, here's your contract offer. Sign it or don't play anywhere. So he'll be back with the Browns, and the Browns can trade him, but I don't think they want to because the asking price is very high, and they think, you know what, we waited for Josh Gordon. We saw what he did at Flashes last year. We're going to get him a better quarterback this year and have maybe a better offense and better play calling, and he's going to explode and be the Josh Gordon that we saw in Flashes before he had his suspension issues.
All right, one more offensive player that the Cowboys could target in trade talks here. How about Cedric Ogbuehi? Darn it, I almost had it.
I had it too. I didn't give the pronunciation. Yeah, it's a weird name because it's a G, but it's silent. The Cowboys brought over Paul Alexander. Now, he's always liked Ogbuehi. There's been some buzz. Maybe he has to move to guard, or maybe he has to move again because he's filled at both right tackle and left tackle. But this fits some of that Cowboys mold. Failed first-round pick, has frankly been a bust in the NFL, but he would bring better depth, and he's better than Chaz Green, right, Brett?
If that's the criteria, I'm pretty sure you or I could.
Oh, I don't know about that.
No,
I don't know about that. Like, I would be on my butt so fast.
Oh, God, it wouldn't even be fun.
It would be funny. It'd be a great video.
It would be funny.
It'd be a great video. Put me up against DeMarcus Lawrence. See how that goes.
Good luck.
I think that I would not be surprised at all if you see the Cowboys maybe in free agency with a guy like Andre Smith. Maybe if they want to back up Sentinel and Russell Bodine, add a Bengals player because of the familiarity with Paul Alexander. But Ogbuehi is a good athlete, but he just gets beat a lot. He just has not become the guy anyone thought he was going to be.
Christopher Rivers asking why y'all talking about these bad players? We don't want them. Well, I mean, Cowboys need some depth at some very key positions.
I wanted one realistic target, okay?
We'll get there. All right, let's go to the defensive side of the ball. How about Aqib Talib, the somewhat maligned cornerback from the Denver Broncos as well?
$11 million for a cornerback? It'd be great because he's talented, but the price tag doesn't make a whole lot of sense for the Dallas Cowboys. And as I wrote in the notes, Brett, he did Plaxico himself back in 2016 outside of a Dallas strip club.
Ouch.
So the city familiarity is there because he pretty much grew up in Dallas, but I don't know if this is the type of guy you want to bring in.
How about another expensive quarterback, Richard Sherman? Chris Richard connection, all that jazz.
Maybe if he was healthy. He's coming off the Achilles injury. I don't know if you want an aging cornerback who some have said his best years are behind him, and maybe they are, with a big old contract coming off an injury. As good as Sherman has been, this is actually a hard pass for me. I have no interest in a guy for $11 million in terms of his projected cap hit. That's basically his base salary.
Yep.
Because as you mentioned, Brett, there could be some guys going back that eliminate the actual money income coming in. But I don't want him for that amount of money. Plain and simple.
So in terms of trade targets, Richard Sherman isn't actually one of them. But one to talk about. People are talking is what this is.
People are talking trade targets because it's just the names.
All right, 2 more for you guys. Another cornerback, Marcus Peters. The Chiefs could trade him?
There's been the rumblings from Pro Football Talk and CBS Sports that the talk inside of NFL circles that the Chiefs are like, you know what, we're tired of Peters' attitude. If that's the case, I, for one, would love to have Peters' attitude on the Cowboys because he makes plays. I don't care if my cornerback is a diva or a head case. Worked out pretty well when Deion Sanders was here at times. Like, I'm going to take on Marcus Peters. The issue is, although he's cheap money-wise, he is not going to be cheap to obtain in a trade. Yep. You're talking at least a first-round pick, if not your second-round pick as well. And at that point, it becomes a little dicey, but I think it's worth doing.
All right, last one here. Earl Thomas. People are definitely talking about this one. He stated that he wants to play for the Cowboys. Let's talk about it. Could the Cowboys trade for him?
Who isn't talking about Earl Thomas at this point?
Yep.
And I get it. I would love Earl Thomas. He is one of the best safeties in the NFL. In terms of his cap hit, it's actually not that bad for a player of his standing. And we know that he had the weird thing where he wants to go play for the Cowboys because that was just kind of a weird thing in general. But I still get the feeling Earl Thomas is going to work out a long-term extension with the Seahawks. Seattle's at very much a crossroads offseason. If they want to keep their core together, it starts with re-signing Earl Thomas. But if it doesn't, then maybe they do look to trade him and get something more in exchange. But you're talking a first-round pick, maybe Byron Jones as well. You have to give up a lot to get Earl Thomas. I think it's more likely that you get him in free agency next year.
Yeah, Cowboys wait a season.
Not sure it's all that likely anyway.
Cowboys, like, they have some draft capital to play with, but the salary cap situation is just going to make it tough for the Cowboys to do anything like this. Get those reactions in.